Hello everybody and welcome to episode 8. In episode 7 we covered drawing our text box to the screen and drawing the text inside it and animating it nicely. In this episode we're going to clean it up a bit and make it so we can create that text box whenever we want to, and also queue up multiple text boxes whenever we would like to, alright? The other thing we want to make sure of is that whenever we have a text box on the screen, the player can't just walk about and do whatever they want during it. So we're going to create a lock state for the player. It's a useful thing to have generally. Because of our player's state machine, it's actually really easy to lock or freeze the player at any point in time. This is separate from our game pause that we do in OGame, because even though there's probably plenty of things we want to pause or not happen while the text is running, and we can add those things as we go, we probably don't want to freeze the entire game, which is kind of what OGame's kind of global pause is built to do. Maybe you do, and if so, you could maybe do this episode a bit differently. It's up to you. But I think it's also worth seeing how you can just freeze the player very easily just by putting them into a null state. You kind of saw a bit of it when we were working on the roll state. So I'm going to make a new script that I'm going to call player state locked. Okay, and I'm just going to add a comment to it that says do nothing. And that's our entire function, right? It's just an empty function. If we're beyond the GML changes, and now you can add functions to scripts rather than just build scripts as functions, then you can just obviously write a function that does nothing. It would be exactly the same. But the important thing is, now that we have this, when we set our player state, so whenever we set our player state to say free or to roll, if we set it to locked, we're going to not do any frame. So we're not going to animate and we're not going to move, and that's all there is to it. So our player will be just totally frozen. And all we have to do is remember what state they were in, so that when we want to unfreeze them, we can go back to whatever state we were in. As for actually how we go into and come out of this state, we'll get into that later. For now, let's close that, and I'm going to make a new object called oTextQueued. So the issue with oText at the moment is if we had multiple text boxes on the screen, they would all be drawing simultaneously. When it is possible that we're going to want to have, say, a signpost or a character that has multiple lines of dialogue, more than we can fit in a single text message, and we want to split it across multiple text messages, and we want them to appear in sequence, right, or in a queue. The easiest way I found to do this is to create this text queued object, which is basically going to be an oText in waiting. And whenever we create a text box, we'll either create an oText if there's no text boxes on the screen, and it'll start drawing that text box immediately. But if there is a text box on the screen, we can create an oText queued with all the same variables and everything that oText has, like it'll have its message and background and everything waiting to go, and then that object will just wait its turn until there are no oText objects, and then if it is first in line, it will become an oText object, inherit all that code, and start drawing its message to the screen. How we do that is actually really easy. I get that what I just said could sound like a complicated thing, but it's actually like 4 lines of code. So in oTextQueued, I'm going to add the create event, and I'm just going to write ticket equal instance underscore number oTextQueued. Alright, this is going to tell it where its place in the queue is, essentially, right? So if there are no other instances of oTextQueued when this gets created, ticket is going to be 1, because this object will exist, so there's going to be 1 oTextQueued. So instance number will be 1, and it'll have ticket number 1, so it'll be first in line. If I made an instance of this and it was the second one, ticket would be 2, and so on, alright? Because this gets the number of instances of this object. And then the only other thing we need to do in here is go to the step event and write if ticket equals 0, and remember that if there was one of these made, then ticket would be 1. So if ticket ever reaches 0, instance underscore change oText true. Alright. Instance change changes an instance from one object type to another object type. Okay, and in this case we're changing oTextQueued into oText. and this second argument, perform events, tells it whether or not to perform the create event of the new object that we're going to. Our text object obviously has some stuff it sets up in its create event, so we want to do that. So make sure that that is true. So now we can create as many instances of this object as we want, and each one will give itself a ticket, so they'll have like a number through 1, 2, 3. So if we made like 4 of them, they'd be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 via this ticket variable. And every time we are finished with an oText instance, what we will do is we'll just grab all of the oText queued objects that exist and reduce their ticket number by 1. Meaning that whichever one is next in line, whichever has ticket number 1, will become ticket 0, and then in its step event it will change into an oText and begin drawing its text box. Obviously we still have to set that up in oText and get it to reduce these ticket numbers, but once we've done that, that's it, right? It's super simple queuing system using this little object here. Really cool little solution. So let's get the rest of that set up now before we forget. So let's go to oText, go to the step event, let me maximize this, and where we destroy this text box here, once the player has pressed space and the text progress has reached the end of the message, we are destroying the text box. Then we also want to, as I said, reduce the ticket number of every text queued object, if there is any. So first of all, we'll check if there is any. If instance exists oText queued, and if that's true, with oText queued, ticket minus minus, okay? Minus being a way to just write subtract 1, okay? We'll subtract 1 from ticket for every oText queued. Now the last problem we have is that we can't actually create new text boxes or new text queued objects in any way other than placing them directly in the room, which isn't what we want. We want to set it up so that we can call these whenever we want to, which will be from various scripts called by entities and so on when we interact with them during the game. So we can close oText here, and I'm going to create a new script, or a new function, whatever you want to call it, called new text box. And as you might imagine, we'll call this whenever we want to create a new text box. First of all, I want to decide whether or not to make an oText or whether or not to make an oText queued, depending on, well, just depending on if there is a text box currently out, okay? So I'm going to write var underscore obj, and that variable is going to basically contain the type of object that we want to make. So if instance exists oText underscore obj equals oText queued, else obj equals oText. Simple as that. Then with instance underscore create underscore layer x, y, well, we could just make it a 0, 0, I guess. The layer can just be the instances layer. We know we'll have that all the time. And the object that we want to make is whatever object is in underscore obj. Okay, so for those unfamiliar, what you can do with the with statement is combine it with an instance create statement, because whenever you do instance create layer, it returns the ID of the instance that you're creating, that specific instance. So we can then immediately do a with function with that ID and set various variables or do whatever we want with that particular object as it is created. So first of all, we're going to set message to equal argument 0. That's open square bracket 0, close square bracket, by the way, because there'll be a variable number of arguments to this depending which things we actually want to set. Very useful if you want to have like default options for a function, as opposed to if we wrote like argument 0, which would basically lock us into and then argument 1 and so on, which would basically lock us into always having a fixed number of arguments. By doing it this way, you can refer to sort of an arbitrary number, and you can basically create functions with optional arguments. All right, but first of all, message is we're always going to have a message argument, and that's going to be argument 0. Then I'm going to write if instance exists other origin instance equals other.id, else origin instance equals no one. Alright, and that's to say that depending where in the game we call this script, it might be being called by a specific instance or by a specific object. If it is, then we can reach by putting the other statement in. We reach outside of this with statement and grab the ID of whatever object was calling this script in the first place. Okay, and we get that instance ID. And we can stick it into this variable called origin instance, which can be useful for us to know for various reasons, and it'll be very important to us later when we deal with dialogue and responses. Okay, so when we put it so you can say things back to our characters and then they can select a response, we're going to need to know which instance gave the message in the first place. All right, then the last thing in here is if argument underscore count greater than 1. So if we've got a second argument in this, when we called the function, background equals argument open square bracket 1 close square bracket, else background equals 1. Again, and I'm not going to say this every episode, but it's possible that we're in a distant future for GameMaker where arguments no longer exist or no longer exist in this exact way, and you have to specifically name them. So this whole thing with the square brackets and optional arguments might work differently in your version of GameMaker now. I don't know. I don't know when that change will be coming. Maybe it never comes. I don't know. I highly suspect it will. So just be prepared to, troll the manual a little bit and work out how that functions in the newest version of GameMaker. All right, but that's pretty much this script, or at least that's the end of the script in terms of making the text object. The other thing we want to do is once we've made a text object or made a queued object or whatever, is put the player into our locked state. So underneath this I'm going to write with oPlayer if state does not equal player state locked, because it's possible we'll be calling this while there is already a text object on the screen and the player is already locked, and we don't want to unlock them or lock them twice or whatever, right? So if that's not the case, we want to set a variable called last state to equal whatever our current state is. All right, that's the main reason we don't want to call this multiple times, because we don't want to set last state to be player state locked and then we just stay locked forever. Okay, so we're going to set last state to be whatever our state currently is. So if we're in the free state, the roll state, or whatever, and then set state to equal player state locked. Remember not to put the open bracket close bracket on the end as if you're calling a function. We're just referring to the function itself, right? So then let's close that up and then come back to the oText object and the step event. And down here where we were destroying this object and changing the ticket numbers on our text queued instances, I'm going to write an else on the end of here. So if there are no oText queued objects, that means this was the last text object and we're going back into regular gameplay with oPlayer state equals last state. And the last thing we should technically do, I guess, is go into the player object and in the create event, just under state here, let's add last state equals state. We don't really need to define this as it gets defined the first time it'll be referred to, which is when we call new text box for the first time, but it's good practice just to make sure we're defining our variables properly. Alright, that's everything. So what I'm going to do now is go to our village and remove this instance of oText that we've just got sitting around. And I'm going to, where should I put this? We'll go into oGame temporarily. That's a decent place for debug commands. We'll go to add event, key pressed, letters T, why not? And we're going to call on new script, which is new text box. We provide it 2 arguments. If you remember, we can provide the message and the background. So we're going to write, this is a test message, and the background can be, well, we'll just leave that on the default background, which I believe is 1, right? Which is, which one should that be? If I look in sprites, that should be the blue one, I believe. Yeah, that's sprite. sprite number, index 1. And then after that, we'll call it again. This is also a test message. Second line. By doing that /n there, we'd put a line break in the text, so that'll give us a second line on the message. And on this one, we'll set the background to be 0, so we'll get that signposty background. That's it. The one other thing I have forgotten that I've just realized is if we go to oText and go to the create event, we need to get rid of our default message in here, okay? Just to make sure that doesn't overwrite anything. It'd be fine when we were first creating a message in here, because when we do with instance create, when we run instance create, it'll do its create event there and then, so it would have set those things to its defaults and then overwritten them with this, and that would be fine. But you'll remember oText queued, its create event is only this, so when its ticket reaches 0 and it changes into oText, it's going to call that create event, which it needs to because of all of this setup in oText. It would have called those background and message variable definitions again, and it would have overwritten what we put in our script here, which we obviously don't want. So just, yeah, make sure you go to the create event, get rid of those two, and then that's everything. So if I run the game now, we'll notice we don't have that text message appearing at the start anymore. I'm going to go into a role and then press T, just so we can show it. It's like freezing the player in place as we go into that player state locked. This is a test message, and I press space. This is also a test message, second line. And then if I press space again, we come back out of it and back into regular gameplay, okay? That role state is really useful for that, just to show you how the player gets locked midway, but obviously we don't need to be rolling. Same thing there. And so on. There you go. So now we can call that whenever we want to, new text box, pass in a message, and if we want to, pass in a background argument as well, and that will draw our message, or it will queue our message if we call them simultaneously like that. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. That's it for this week. I'll catch you all next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Shorter episode this week, which is probably a relief to some of you, as we just get this text box stuff set up and ready to be used with the entity system that we're going to start developing next week. The more complicated aspects of the text drawing, such as the dialogue options and kind of responses, are going to have to wait a little bit until we get our entities built, so that we actually have some, NPCs that you can go and talk to and that can have responses and so on that they can give to messages. But that's what I'm kind of beelining towards at the moment, because that's what my patrons voted to see. I keep calling them Patreons rather than patrons. They are patrons, and here they are now. Thank you to all my patrons, and thank you in particular, and in no particular order, to Arrow Barbarian, Bailey Raid, Bowser the Dog, Bertie T, Cabbage Pants, Daka Dondigo, Dark Rider 0318, Do What Doobie, Figgy, Gargoyle Drake, Gilberto Cisneros, Hare, Hyungjin, James L. Anderson, James Siggins, Jason, now I have to scroll down because there's so many of you, Kevin Sheaves, Leo, Maria Celesta Oliveira Frailing, Mark, Max M, Pixel Mush, Relentless Rex, Rennie Dam, Robert Churches, Rovan Darlin, Run, Rupinder, Scott Matthews, Shokuntek, Samian Yayalegaglow, T. Lesson, Travis Womack, Tyler Hubble, Zaki, Zephyr Flame, and Zinan May. Whew, there's getting to be a lot of you. If this keeps growing, I don't know. Can we do this every episode? I think it's fine for a while, yeah, isn't it? 38 of them names I have to read out at the moment. That's crazy. Thank you all so much. Can't believe I'm still here doing this, frankly, and it's all thanks to you guys, so thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll catch you all next time.